Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday afternoon. Happy snowy, cold Wednesday. Actually, I think today is a little bit warmer than it has been. Nevertheless, because of road conditions and things of that nature, many of us are stuck in the house. And that's why today's Lunch and Learn is not a destination. I'm not having lunch physically with anyone right now. Um, I'm at home where it's safe and warm, thankfully. And so I wanted to jump on really quickly. And well, I don't know if this will really be quick because I've got some information I want to share with you that I believe will serve you well if you are an author, if you're a small business owner, if you advocate for any particular cause, maybe on a director of a nonprofit. If you are engaged in any mission or purpose where you need people to not only be aware of who you are, but to support what you're doing, then this Lunch and Learn was created for you. So, for those who don't know me, I am Dr. Anissa Short, the success strategist and the director of the Chosen Pen Group. And for over 20 years, I've been engaged in some form of entrepreneurship. I've worked with women in business since at least 2008 in a leadership mentorship capacity. I have worked with various nonprofits in raising funds. I have worked with small businesses on marketing strategies and event planning. And of course, now I'm mostly engaged in publishing and representing myself as a success strategist. As a speaker, I am a best-selling author. I am a wife, an auntie. I'm a daughter and a sister and a friend. And so today's Lunch and Learn is really focused on strategies for those of you who are authors and who are small businesses. And you know what? I'm going to say this, whether you realize it or not, if you are an author, you are a small business. They're one and the same, really. And so we must think like a business, think like a retailer. I want to apologize up front. I think maybe because of the snow and the ice, my technology has been kind of flaky. So if some reason things get disconnected, I'll jump back on. But in the meantime, let's get started. So what I want to do today is to, of course, introduce you to myself, which I've already done, giving you a little background about what I do and why I do it. I want to share with you some feedback I got from a few people that I know in the industry of literary publishing, as well as being small business owners. I want to share with you the three strategies that I had planned to share anyway, because what they gave me supported the information I'm going to share with you perfectly. And then I'm going to extend an offer, a very special offer that I have permission to extend that you must take advantage of if you choose to before the end of the month. The 31st of January will be the deadline. So I've already told you who I am, Anissa Short, Dr. Anissa Short. Been engaged in publishing for years, been an author. I think I got about maybe 12 titles under my name. I've assisted others in the year of 2025. I assisted 22 people with getting their book published, and then in the year before that, I've assisted. I think it was 30 titles in 2024, and this year the goal is 50, if not more. But anyway, aside from that, one of the things I realized as an entrepreneur and as someone who's worked with people with the desire to build a business is the disconnect that oftentimes they have between the product and their promotions, between the service they provide and their needing to promote, their willingness to be out front, whether they're introverts or extroverts, it doesn't matter because the principles are the same. And what I've realized, even after being a part of this publishing community and working with authors, is much of what I shared and coached entrepreneurs and small business are applicable. The rules don't change. The product might change, the service might change, but the principles remain the same. And so that's what we're going to talk about. I want to read to you a few statements that I got from friends of mine who've been engaged in this space for a while. Again, they are authors themselves, they work with authors, they're entrepreneurs, they know the ins and outs, they're agents, they're writing coaches, they know what they're talking about. Okay. And so the question I pose to them is this, and this is what I want you to think about: whether you be an author, an entrepreneur, as we already stated, they're one and the same, right? Here's the question. The question is, what is the biggest downfall or mistake you believe authors make, and we could say small business owners make, when it comes to promoting and advertising? What they said was not being consistent. They think they make a post one time or they share their products or service one time and that should be sufficient. Another time they says they fail to connect with their audience. They don't really know who their target market is, and if they do, they fail to connect with their audience. They might be introverted. One of the people said they might be introverted, but they don't realize that just because they might be shy and a little timid, the people in their sphere of influence could be there and be willing, but they don't ask, right? Asking for help sometimes. You can have people in your corner that are willing to be extensions of who you are and let's say your brand ambassador, right? So if it's a product, your brand ambassador. If it's a book, it's your book ambassador. They're your street team. They're your affiliates, people who go out and become the voice piece, not to work for you, but they're working with you, which means there's still a level of responsibility that you must take as the author of the book, as the seller of the product. And again, remember, it does not matter if you are an author or if you sell jewelry, if you sell cosmetics, if you sell cakes and pies, it does not matter. The principles are the same regardless. So I want to offer you 3 strategies that I know work because I implemented them myself in my business over the years. Now, the key to this is consistency, and your consistency is going to look like whatever you consider your consistency to be. Doing something once a quarter or once every 6 months is not consistent, okay? Depending on the type of advertising or promoting or networking that you choose to do. The baseline for all of this is getting out of the door, doing what it is to make sure that those outside of the 4 walls, those outside of your immediate sphere of influence, know who you are, know what you offer so they can take advantage of it. Truth be told, your immediate family is not your target market. Many times we become discouraged because our aunties, our mom and dad, our cousins, our siblings don't buy the book. They don't buy the product. They're not there for us as we thought they would be. Well, congratulations. You learned one of the first lessons in the world of entrepreneurship. You are not called to the people in your immediate family. Now, if they support you and if they buy, then that's an added blessing. But your product, your services are intended for people outside of your sphere of influence. And how can they support you if they don't know you exist? How can they support you if they don't know you exist, if they've not made a connection with you and they don't trust you? They must meet you, get to know you, and begin to trust you for them to fully invest in what it is you have to offer, whether that be a book, a brand, or a business. Okay. So let's talk about it. I want to offer you 3 simple strategies, 3 things I've done over the years, 3 things I suggest over and over again. They're very simplistic, and I want you to not despise small beginnings. 3 simple strategies that you can implement, something that you can do consistently, and they have varied levels of investment that are required, but you can pick all 3 or you could take one and maximize it to the nines, right? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to commit to network. What does that mean, Anissa? Networking is not simply passing out your business cards to as many people as possibly can. Networking is attending events so that you can connect with people to build relationships that can establish trust. Attending events to connect with people so that you can build the relationship that will in turn establish trust. That's what networking is. Let me give you an idea. Networking can be simply going to as many lunches that you could attend. Let's say your local Rotary, let's say your local chamber has, coffees in the morning before work shifts, or they do coffees in the evening. They offer networking mingles. Let's say your local civic organizations and or churches or women's groups they host lunches or conferences and things of that nature that you can attend. You're going to attend those events with the purpose of meeting people, and you don't have to meet a lot. Commit to maybe making 5 key contacts, exchange business cards, engage in conversation, find out what you have in common. One prime example: I attended an event in the month of, I think it was September, it was October. I attended a dinner event. I met a young lady who in turn, we connected and became Facebook friends. And then I invited her to be a part of my Conversations with Chosen Pen podcast so that she could promote her business. I wanted to get to know her better and we could promote her business. What I found in the course of interviewing with her and having conversation was that she's originally from a town that I once lived in, and she and I attended the same school at one time, right? So we had a common connection. That was like an aha moment for both of us, right? So I met her, we connected from an initial standpoint of meeting, but now we have some things in common. Now I'm familiar with her hometown and she knows that I once lived there, right? We could talk about how the town has evolved, and that's how the course of our conversation went along. We could talk about attending the University of Mississippi because both of us did at one time. And so now our connection is a little more closely knit because we have those commonalities. What ended up happening after me inviting her to be a part of the podcast and us engaging in more conversation is that she in turn invited me to attend a local luncheon hosted by our Rotary. Okay, I went to that event, and in turn I met two or three more people who were inquisitive about what I did. And of course, I had an opportunity to converse with them in detail. And so now I have their names and numbers to in turn invite them to be a part of Conversations with Chosen Pen, or to invite them to be a guest and to join me for another lunch and learn. That's what networking does for you. You are building your net. You are binding it up. You are solidifying the relationships that create that net that eventually becomes your tribe or your community. So I want you to get out of the house and decide today, I'm going to attend as many networking events as I can. Now, there will be a level of investment involved. Sometimes these lunches are free. Sometimes they may require you, to invest 25, 30, 40, $50 to attend, but it's worth it. I believe that you could attend a networking event every single month, if not two, every single month. And in the course of time in doing so, again, you are not there to sell your product. You are there to sell yourself and to do what's necessary to make the connections that can build the relationships that eventually establish trust. Okay. Networking events, they are your best bet out. No doubt about it. I would commend you. I would encourage you to go now to meetup.com, go to Facebook events and figure out where you can go. Look at your local chamber, connect with different events that are going on in local churches and civic organizations, and plug in, find those events that will have your market there. For those of you who are authors, your target market are people who read books. So if you are a children's book author, you want to tag into events that support children's events. Makes sense, right? But then you want to also tag into events where moms are present, because typically the mothers are the ones making the decisions on the books that children read, right? So you see how it works? Simple. Number two, vending events or to serve as an exhibitor. These types of events are often times offered in your local community, but then you could go 2 miles out, 3 miles out, 10 miles out, maybe an hour or two drive out, and create a new paradigm, create a larger territory for yourself, and decide, I'm going to be a vendor. I'm going to set up my table and I am going to promote who I am and what I offer. Notice what I said. I didn't say anything about selling. Now, true enough, when you have vending events, you want to sell some product. I understand, especially if you have books and products to sell. But the number one objective, again, in networking and getting your information out there is to make connection with people so that you can build relationships and trust can be established. People support people they trust. All right. So when you set your table up for these vendor events, you're not in competition with any other vendor in that spot. There may be other people who sell books. There may be other people who sell cosmetics. There may be other people that sell candles. I don't know, but they're not in competition with them. You're in competition with them all. So you want to set your table up to make it as interesting and as attractive as possible. If you need help, you can reach out to me and I can give you some tips because I have a 12-point checklist. But besides all that, here's the thing. I want you to think about when the malls were really prevalent. One of the things that many of them had, whether they were downtown or inside of what we used to call a traditional mall, they had what I call the feature window. And that feature window would show you, it would have mannequins wearing the gear of the season or the colors of the season. If it was a beach theme, they would have beach balls and, beach chairs. If it were promoting summer gear, if it were the fall, they would have on the sweaters and the colors of the fall for that year. And that featured window is oftentimes what attracted you to come into the store, right? It attracted you and you said, "Oh, I like that sweater. Oh, I like that ensemble. Oh, I like those colors. Let me go in here and see what else they have," right? So here's what we do. We go into the store and then we see more. We connect with the sales rep and hopefully she's not pushy. All right. And then they because of the atmosphere and because of what you see, you make a purchase. The same thing applies when you choose to be a vendor. Your vendor table is your featured window. How can you have it set up such that people are attracted to what you are and what you have to offer? You and your table are synonymous. You are the mannequin. So once upon a time, I did a lot of vendor events in promoting a cosmetic brand that I still sell now. And so I made sure that I looked the part. I was wearing the cosmetics on my face. I was wearing the fragrance that I was featuring on the table. And I made sure my table was in the same color scheme as what I had on. All of us, me plus my table and all of my product and anyone who accompanied me, were one cohesive unit. When you set up for vendor events, that's what you're doing. You're promoting who you are and what you have to offer. If you make a sale, that's the gravy. But the connection is this. You want to get to these vendor events in sufficient time that you first reach out to all the other vendors that are there. Your building relationship and connecting with them is going to be imperative, because if they're local, they're going to be your key to the city. They're going to be your collaborator for the next event. They're going to be the people, because they like you and because of the presence that you brought about and because of the conversation that you had, they're going to remember you for the next event. So you get there early enough, and the first people that you want to connect with are the host of this event as well as the other vendors. And then for those who come by your table when the event is ongoing, you want to make sure that you have a way in which to collect names and numbers to add them to your mailing list. Maybe you can have a physical form for them to complete to win a prize while they're there, or a QR code for them to scan, and they can provide their download their phone number and email and name, so they're added to your mailing list. So then in turn, you can keep them informed about future events you have, right? Remember, we're talking about making connections to build relationships that will establish trust. This is what strategies are all about. So if you have a book, if you have a brand, if you have a business, you want to be consistent and you want to be present. Vending events are offered all the time. The investment could be $50, it could be $100, it could be $300 or $400. It could span one day. It could cover a few hours, a whole day, or maybe a weekend. You decide what fits your budget, but I challenge you to at least commit to one per month. So if you have a luncheon that you're attending once or twice a month, and you're doing a vendor event at least once a month, now you've got 3 weekends technically, or 3 events, 3 ways in a month for which you are promoting your brand, your business, or your book. The third thing that I'm going to offer to you is advertising. Now, advertising is going to require much larger investment. And when I say advertising, I'm referencing local magazines. I'm referencing local newspapers. I'm referencing you boosting ads maybe, or just simply doing a major social media blitz. And that's going to require an investment on your part, an investment of time and an investment of money. Your advertising, if it's social media, needs to be ongoing, nonstop. It really does. I mean, you could just be like, it needs to be at the point of almost nausea, that every time you look up, you're posting. And every time if people look up, they see something that you're advertising. Every time we look up, there's information about your book, about your brand, about your business, about your event. Why is that important that you do this every day? Literally, definitely 3 to 5 times a week. Is because everyone's not on social media at the same time. So whereas I might see your post because I'm on the internet, I'm on social media pretty often because of the work that I do. There are others who are working traditional 9 to 5 jobs. They're very engaged in after school activities with their children, and they may not get on until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. If you only post once a week at 7 o'clock in the morning, they're probably not going to see your post. So you must post and do it consistently on whatever method or whatever platform you decide. Now, you can't go wrong with multiple platforms, but I want you to also keep in mind that certain platforms cater to certain demographics. There's some heavier weighted for those who are 40 and over, and then there's some that are more prevalent to those who are in their 20s and 30s. And so, depending on your target market, you should decide which platform or platforms you're going to use. So, now social media posts, magazines, newspapers, you may not have the budget to do this every single month, but you can actually do this quarterly. No doubt about it. With the exception of social media, you can do that more often. But your quarterly budget can be established to advertise in magazines and newspapers. Just figure out where you want to go and where you want to be. Check out different platforms and groups on Facebook, for example, can give you exposure to a lot of different platforms for which you can advertise. And if you're a speaker, same thing applies. So let's reevaluate this thing. Your local luncheons, your networking events, like luncheons, can be close by. They're in your local city, your local town, your local municipality. So you're working in close proximity to home, right? Your vendor events can be in your local town, city, or municipality, but they also can be within 2 hours drive, north, south, east, or west. So they're creating an expanded territory. You're creating rather an expanded territory for which to work. And so now you not only have people in your local community that you're connecting with, but you have a territory that allows you to go and come within a day and to participate and plug in and to build relationships and collaborations and build trust and build rapport, right? When you decide to do social media ads on a regular basis, and when you decide to advertise through magazines and newspapers, what you have done now is expanded your territory much beyond where you live and within 2 hours drive. You very well could have a global reach by plugging in to these types of vehicles, right? Think about it. Do something once a month. Do something twice a month. Do something once a quarter. The consistency of your efforts is key. Remember, my friend said, you're not consistent. You think family and friends and those closest to you should be your customers. You become discouraged from that. You're timid. You don't employ the assistance of others. And when you take these 3 strategies, networking through local lunches and events, vending, networking through vending, and promotions and advertising, you're doing a little bit of everything. 3 strategies, simple strategies. Find your plug, participate in all 3, or max out just one. But the key is to be consistent and to not stop. How many times do you see a Kellogg's commercial on television? How many times do you see a Taco Bell commercial on television? We know Taco Bell is right up the street, right? We know where to find a local Taco Bell, but they never stop advertising. We must employ these same skills, these same strategies, these same principles for our book, our brand, our business. Now, for my authors, I've got a special offer. I have shared this before. It is worth sharing again. For the investment of $497, Cyrus Webb, Amazon influencer, Meta certified trainer. He's the president of the Conversations Media Group. He's offering a fantastic special that expires on the 31st of this month. $497 is your investment, but guess what you get for $497? You're going to be featured on his Amazon Live platform. Cyrus has thousands of followers through his platform. And because you're going to be interviewed and featured, that means you're going to get exposure to people who are not just in your neighborhood, but people who live outside the state, possibly even globally. Who knows? But it's Amazon. That's the platform. You know how large that platform is? Well, his show ranks in the top 3, if not number 1 all the time, but definitely within the top 3. You're going to get an interview there. You're going to be featured in Conversations magazine. Okay. That's a part of the package. He's going to provide 4 weeks of promotion of your book on his Amazon carousel. Cyrus has been known for, I don't know, at least 20 years on being a number one reviewer when it comes to Amazon books and products. And so he's considered an expert, in this segment of the promotions of books and or products. He's going to feature your book for 4 weeks. He's basically going to be saying, you guys, this is a book that you need to consider purchasing. And this is the book I'm featuring for 4 weeks. That's a part of the package. So you get an interview with him on his live broadcast that airs via Amazon. You're going to get a feature in the magazine, Conversations magazine. You are going to get 4 weeks of book promo. In addition to that, you're going to get 3 podcast interviews. There are 3 partners that are a part of the Conversations Media Group. They're going to feature you. So there's 3 different podcast interviews, 3 different markets with 3 different sets of followers that will be introduced to not only who you are, but your book. Got it? Cyrus is also going to do a book review for you. How many times have we asked people to do a review of our book and they failed to do so? Well, he's going to do that for you. And not only is he going to do that, he's going to record it. So you will always have it. So that's content you can use over and over and over again. Now, all of this doesn't have to be done at one time. It can be spread it out, but I don't want you to miss this opportunity. This package is valued at over $900, just a little shy of $1,000, but you can get it for $497. An interview with the top performer with Amazon Live, a feature in a magazine that's always an Amazon bestseller, 4 weeks of promotion for your book, 3 podcast interviews, and a book review that will be recorded for you to use for future content. This promotion will end on the 31st of January, all right? I don't want you to miss it. So I'm extending the offer to you again. I've shared this before on my platform, but I wanted to make sure that I shared it again because my friend said we get disgusted and discouraged and become frustrated in the course of building our businesses and promoting our book or brand because we fail to be consistent, because we allow the fact that maybe we're intimidated to hold us back, because we became discouraged because friends and family don't always support. And because we just don't do what we need to do enough times, we don't attach or we don't become connected to the market that would be interested in our brand. Well, we can if we're not consistent, right? In all of that being said, the 3 strategies I gave you are simple ways in which you can be consistent, do things simple, stay within your immediate sphere of influence, branch out, and even go globally if you choose to, based on using social media and or advertising and marketing platforms such as newspapers and magazines. But here's the caveat. Cyrus Webb has extended a special offer that allows you the visibility that you need in order to be visible locally, be visible through social media, be visible through marketing mediums such as magazines, and to potentially have a global reach, or at least an international reach, or national and international reach, let's just say that, by way of his show. If you want more information about the special promo that Cyrus Webb is offering, and I am very much a part of it because you'll be featured on my podcast, Conversations with Chosen Pen, then comment in the comment section. Leave me a message and we'll get back with you and make sure you get signed up. But if nothing else, I don't want you to limit your visibility. I don't want you to hold back. I want you to step outside of your comfort zone. We are off to a great start in 2026, and now is the time to do what's necessary to take things up a level. This is about next leveling your exposure, next leveling your presence, next leveling your client list, your email list, your distribution list, whether you have a product or a book, business, or brand. I hope these 3 strategies serve you well. That's it for today, my friend. Thanks for joining me this week for Lunch and Learn. I just might be back next Wednesday. Who knows? Until then, you stay warm and you stay safe. Take care.